We are joined with the man himself. Dan, you're something's going on with your speaker.
Oh yeah. I know what's going on. Give me 1 second. Give me one second. Sorry. Give me 1 second. I know what's going on. All right.
You're perfectly fine. And just so the audience would know, Dan Kovalik, he's an American human rights, labor rights lawyer, political activist, previously taught at the International Human Rights University of Pittsburgh School of Law. There's a long story to go along with why he no longer does that, which sucks. So I'm going to avoid it, but Dan is
Well, I guess we should say it now because God knows what people can conjure in their minds. It's because of my position on Russia and Ukraine. There was nothing.
Wait, you are very staticky. Something's going on.
Oh.
Say it one more time.
Why.
Yeah.
Any better now?
No. Do this. Go out and come back in for me. Sometimes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll do it. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Dan will be back in a moment. Sometimes those things happen. These are just technical glitches. These technical glitches will be worked out. You sound like a staticky mess. Yes, you sound like a staticky mess. It's okay. He will fix it. Sounds like no need to change it. Funny mic. No, it is not a funny mic. All right. Let's bring my man back. Okay, Dan.
How's that?
Much better. Much better.
Okay, good.
It's amazing how that works.
I was just saying that now that we given what people might think, I'll just say that I lost my position at the university because of my position on Russia, Ukraine. Just wanted
that is amazing to me. God, man, that's amazing to me. By the same token, we lost my job too. So, fair enough. I do get it.
Well, I was just listening. I'll just say, I mean, it's very important, since we raised the issue. I mean, I was just listening to an excellent video that was going over an article by a Russian scholar specialist, and I'm forgetting his name. I'm sorry to say, but
Brandovich.
No, it begins with a T, last name with a T, and I'm forgetting. But in any case, I even cite him in my Russia book. But anyway, he just talks about the vilification of Russia, the insane dehumanization of Russians, and really, we live in incredible times. Anyway, it relates to that they could not abide by my,
honest point of view.
My honest point of view. And by the way, in a world that maybe we should have different views on things, they want professors that all have the same view. I mean, it's incredible. The academy, they've just taken a sledgehammer to the academy, right? It's a joke now. So,
but,
anyway.
I mean, I guess my thing is there is right and wrong. There is right and wrong. Meaning there is, fair enough, we can't necessarily touch reality for what it is, but we can get close to it, or some people are closer to it than others. And if I make a coherent argument about factoids of things that took place and come up with the context based on those facts, okay, you have to deal with that. It can't just be, well, we don't like Russia because so-and-so. It can't be that. And I get the feeling, I get the sense that a lot of what goes on for discourse is just we feel a particular way. And it's not about your feelings. Like the reality of it is, look, I grew up in this country. I was born and raised here. And in being born and raised here, my value set is based around America, for better or for worse. And if I'm looking at the situation, I say, all right, but you guys expanded NATO to their border. I'm not wrong in that. That's true. If I say you guys blew off the Minsk agreements, you guys overthrew the government of Ukraine. You can call it a revolution of dignity, call it whatever you want. You overthrew the government of Ukraine. Like all of these things are real, legit, honest things that they just kind of yada yada and go with this Cold War nonsense. And I'm saying there is something that is closer to the truth than something else. And they are effectively lying. Your position on this is more accurate than theirs, which is why I take such issue with you losing your job for it. And I take issue with me losing my job for it because I was right all the way through. But being right doesn't matter. It's not about, as I tell my mom, it's not about being right. That doesn't really matter. It's about power and the power distribution, and whether or not you can, push one way or the other. That's why I said
Well,
there's no such thing as international law.
and also, Dostoevsky once wrote, "It's easier to forgive someone for being wrong than for being right."
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the unforgivable.
Oh, yes. I love that. Oh, I love that. Oh, that is so true. That is so true. I can forgive you for being wrong, but if you're right, that's a different animal. That's a different animal. I'm glad you could join me, man. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
me.
It's good to be
I,
here. Always good. I like you very much. I love your show, and it's
I
always good to
appreciate it.
be here.
I appreciate it. I have been watching something take place in the Middle East that is fascinating to me. So, right here, do I have a clip? Do I have a clip? Yes. So, right now, as we speak, terrorists, Jelani's dogs, as I like to call them, are going on a killing spree, not against the Alawites, not against the Christians this time around, but against the Druze.
Now against the
Now,
Druze, I saw that. Yes.
yes. Now, Israel's response to this is the thing that I'm fascinated by. Now, you have Israel has been bombing the Syrian, well, I guess you'd call them Jelani's dogs, effectively ISIS, in order to keep them away from the Druze community as a, hey, back off. Now, they did this once before, early
Right.
on, when they first took over the conflict. And I mean, like literally bombing hardware to tell them to back off. The Druze community in occupied Gaza, or let's say occupied Palestine, went so far as to put up barricades, fires, to try to force the Israeli government to get involved in Syria to protect the communities that are in Syria. Please explain this to me because I don't quite understand it. You know this better than I do.
Right. Um, so, um, how do I explain it? First of all, well, let's explain what's happening in Syria. So, the government in Syria is essentially a successor to the Al Nusra Front of Al Qaeda. Okay, they're rebranded HTS, but that's what they are. They're Al Qaeda. And in 2012, the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, put out this document. It was classified, but then it was declassified, saying that the Western states were supporting Al Qaeda in Syria, and that the goal of Al Qaeda was to set up a religious caliphate.
Right.
Well, Al Qaeda is now taken power, and what are they doing? They're setting up a religious caliphate. And what does that mean? Essentially, they're setting up a theocratic state that is completely intolerant of other religions. So, Christians, Alawites, Shia Muslims, moderate Sunni Muslims, and Druze. Okay, so the new government has been persecuting, killing these various minorities, and the Druze are the most recent to really be um, suffering from this. The Druze are an interesting group. It's hard to even characterize what they are. They are essentially um, a Muslim group, but they split away from kind of the mainstream Islam
Uh,
in the 11th century. And some of them speak Hebrew, so there are connections to.
Israel.
It's an Abrahamic faith, okay, which Islam is too, by the way, and Christianity and Judaism, but they share some things in common with Judaism, and so they have a bit of a connection with Israel, and that's why they believe that Israel, might protect them. I think Israel's done something, very little things to maybe protect them, but not very much. And I don't think they're going to do very much, by the way. But that's the connection there, and why the Druze are calling on Israel to help. I mean, and Israel now has a huge presence in Syria. They've taken over huge swaths of Syria. They now control 40% of Syria's water supplies. It's a big reason they want Syria. Israel's always had a problem with the water, right? And anyway, that's a quick explanation.
Do you think they're going to let Al-Golani maintain control of Syria? Because I have to be honest, my thought was that they were allowing a terrorist to take over Syria so they can get rid of the terrorists, if that makes sense.
Well, they wanted to get rid of Assad.
Right.
That was the main goal of the West, and they did that. And the reason they wanted to get rid of him is because he was independent. He supported the Palestinians. Now they got rid of him. But yeah, I think now the monster they created to get rid of him, they may not fully embrace. Though at the moment, Giuliani is being recognized by most of the world, including the West. The U.S. is recognizing him. They're lifting sanctions on him. They lifted the terrorist designation on the HTS. They lifted the $10 million bounty on Giuliani. The point is, for the moment, he is being accepted. But they do view him a bit as a necessary evil, and when he becomes unnecessary to the project, yeah, they may get rid of him. But so far, it needs to be pointed out, he has not been a threat to the West in any way.
Mm-mm.
He is working very close with Israel. He is basically ceding over territory to them, including the Golan Heights. It looks like he's just going to hand the Golan Heights over to them, even though international law recognizes the Golan Heights as part of Syria. He's working with Israel on incursions into Lebanon, and some people think Syria, under his leadership in Israel, will engage in a full-scale invasion of Lebanon from the north and from the east.
Do you think that? I mean,
I do
because
think that.
Yeah, they were effectively using his terrorists as a battering ram to go after Lebanon.
Against Hezbollah, right, which
Right.
has been able to defend Lebanon from the south of Lebanon, right? So they've they've had the luxury of being able to focus only on the south and Israel incursions up through the south. Now they're surrounded. I mean, aside from the Mediterranean, which is on the west of Lebanon, but from the north and the east is Syria, and now they're going to have to defend that territory. Interestingly, there are former Syrian Arab army folks now who are living in exile in Lebanon after the overthrow of Assad, who will help Hezbollah defend Lebanon. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But long and short of it is, Giuliani's completely a tool of the West. In fact, in Damascus, there are billboards going up with pictures of Trump and Giuliani saying Syria thanks Donald Trump. I mean, so for now, the West is okay with him. He's fine. They don't care if he kills Christians or Alawites or Druze or what. He's doing their bidding for the moment. Again, at the moment that changes, they'll get rid of him, just like they got rid of Diem in South Vietnam. They got rid of Mobutu in Congo. They got rid of Saddam Hussein in Iraq, who was a CIA asset for a long time. So they'll probably get rid of Zelensky at some point, too. All these assets can be disposed of. But for the moment, they have no opposition to him. In fact, it's kind of interesting that initially when Giuliani took over, and immediately they started kind of, low scale, kind of step-by-step attacks on the minority groups, not full scale like they started in March of this year. And the U.S. initially was critical of them for that. Marco Rubio put out a statement critical, saying they had to stop this. But now that Trump has recognized Giuliani, and despite the fact that he's actually increased the repression beyond what was being criticized, now the U.S. has forgotten about it. They don't care. They don't care what he's doing. They don't care that his groups are kidnapping women and girls and bringing them into sexual slavery.
They never
By
did.
the way, they were doing that during the war against Assad, and no one cared. I mean, it's really awful. But this exposes, what the West is about. They don't care about human rights or women's rights, unless they can use those issues as a battering ram against countries that don't do their bidding. And at the moment, Syria is the most compliant pro-Western state in the Levant. It's incredible. So there you go.
But the terrorists that are under Giuliani, they're okay with working with Israel in this way.
Yes. I mean, look, Giuliani, the HTS has 26 different factions. So I'm sure there's factions within this that are not happy with that. But honestly, if you look at their conduct up till now, those groups seem content to just be in power, to be able to go after these minority groups with impunity. That's kind of the bone that Giuliani's thrown them, right?
Yeah.
That, hey, guys, go after these minorities, kill them, rape them, whatever you want. They seem content with that for now. And I think they're able, kind of willing to look the other way regarding Giuliani's position vis-a-vis Israel and the United States. And frankly, it's going to be lucrative for them because, they're lifting these horrible sanctions that were on Syria. They're going to get aid brought in from the West, right? They're going to get economic ties. And all those groups are going to benefit from that, right? I'm sure they're going to skim off the top, embezzle a lot of those funds. So look, it works out for them for the most part, and they're going to be allowed to set up a religious caliphate in Syria. They're going to have an extremist government under Al-Qaeda rule, and they're going to, it seems like, effectively eliminate most of their minorities. The Christians are going to leave, even though this is Syria was the place where Christianity was founded. The head of St. John the Baptist resides in Syria. But the Christians, by and large, are going to leave. The Alawites are going to leave, and that's what they want. And yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Please finish. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, so you're going to have this mono-religious, mono-ethnic state for the first time ever in Syria. I mean, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for humankind, for humanity, for Western civilization. I mean, everything the West claims to care about is being destroyed in that country.
See, to me, it's just what they say. I don't think they believe this stuff.
I agree with you. No, they claim they care about it, and they don't. I mean, again, that's what's being exposed, is they don't care about human rights. They don't care about women's rights. They don't care about religious freedoms. Those are just pretexts for their regime change operations.
Speaking about something that is a little bit more positive, and I want to get your take on this. So this Israeli woman, okay, let me kill the soundtrack. I hate it when they put soundtrack to this stuff. This is
I saw that. Yeah.
Right. One of the many Israelis that were mocking Palestinians. You had some dancing around in dresses, some stealing stuff from people's houses. Basically, this is what the Israelis have been doing, because it's not enough to murder people. It's not enough to shoot women and children. It's not enough to starve them and then shoot them when they're trying to get food. Mocking them is a part of it. She's dead. She took an L. She was shot, killed, whatever happened to her. All right.
By who?
I
Do we know
know.
by who?
I don't know. I mean, it's wild. I mean, and I guess my thing is, I've noticed an uptick in the number of Israelis that have been killed. I mean, I can go down the list of Israelis that have been getting killed jumping out of a tractor, killed in a tank, killed in this, killed in that, shot in an ambush, blown up with an RPG. And it seems like the numbers have spiked ever since the 12-day war with Iran.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you noticed this? Before we're even stepping into this part, have you noticed that this seems to be a new phenomenon? Or maybe a new
Yes.
phenomenon, but
Well,
at the very least,
yeah,
a
it
phenomenon.
does seem like the resistance within Gaza is strengthening. And yes, is really, in some cases, has the Israelis on the run, chasing after tanks, blowing them up. Yes,
Yeah,
killing IDF soldiers. Yeah, no, it's happening. No, there is an increase.
I guess my
I don't
thing
know
is
if there's a
why.
connection. I don't know. Well, I just think that I don't think there's necessarily a connection with the attack by Iran, but I just think that they've regrouped and are now on the attack. I think they've taken their blows, but they've managed to come back from that, and now they're on the offensive. Also, they may have been taking a little wait and see attitude as to whether there's going to be a ceasefire. It's now clear there won't be. I mean, that's over. The idea, put that out of your head. There won't be a
Right.
ceasefire. We have been gaslit about that now for going on almost 2 years.
By
It's
the way,
so
another group that have been killed.
yeah.
Another group.
And so this is serious. I mean, look, the Israeli defense forces are already very demoralized for a number of reasons, because they've lost a lot of soldiers to, being killed, to being wounded, but also because, many of them are coming back from battle traumatized by, again, one, the attacks on them, but also more so by what they've had to do to the Palestinians, right? I mean, human beings were not made to do these terrible things. And a lot are coming back, committing suicide, committing domestic violence, which happens in many wars, by the way. I mean, that's almost the rule of the day, I
Right.
mean, and so, and a lot of Israelis are refusing to serve. They don't want to go into this. So the more that the resistance has successes like this against the IDF, the more the morale of the IDF is going to erode. The other thing is they know they're totally unpopular in the world. I mean, I think, it's one thing if you are fighting for a righteous cause, right?
Hmm.
I think how you view what is happening in theater is different than when you realize, oh, the world thinks we are horrible. We are not the world's most moral army, as Israel has claimed. We're the world's most immoral army in the minds of the world.
Monsters. Yeah.
The IDF soldiers can't go on vacation abroad without being harassed, without being mocked, without even being threatened with arrest for war crimes, So now they're wondering, what are we even fighting for, right? Israel, the idea of Israel is dead. I mean, they're fighting for a lost cause. And so, and an immoral cause. So again, I do think you're going to see more and more defections, more and more trouble getting people to fight. So yeah, I mean, in that way, the Israelis are losing in many ways. I mean, the only thing they're good at doing is murdering civilians. I mean that, yeah, but anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Um, so
Where is it? Right here. There is There's a clip. It's too long for me to play, but one of the spokesmen for the IDF, or for, let's say, the Israeli government, was on LBC radio. And he was making this argument like, look, I'm not making a legal argument. I'm just telling you what we're going to do. We're going to put these people in a pen, and we're going to get rid of these people. And what his argument was that we're effectively going to ethnically cleanse the area. In fact, I would love to play a little bit of this, but it's a 4-minute clip, so it wouldn't necessarily make sense to play part of it if I can't necessarily get the exact part. But he was basically making the argument like, look, legally, I'm not a lawyer. And he said, you can take it to court if you need to. I'm just telling you what we're doing. We are going to make a smaller and smaller pen for the people in Gaza. And eventually, once we get it small enough, we need to get it about 10% smaller than what it is now. And we are going to evict those people. Now, I guess my thing is, for one, what country has said they were going to take Gazans? I mean, maybe you can convince Jelani. Jelani will bend over for $1. But I don't know any other country. Egypt has said no. Jordan has said no. Every other country in the Middle East seems to be completely against it. Even the Quisling governments, that's weak, feckless, worthless governments, Arab, Muslim governments in the Middle East, all of them are against it. So who do they expect to take 1.8 million people?
Well, I don't think they expect that to happen. I don't think that's the goal. I think the goal is to murder them all. I mean, I'm sorry to be so blunt, but they want to eradicate them. That's why this is a genocide. I mean, it's not just an ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing is forcibly removing people. Genocide is the desire to destroy in whole or in part a particular protected group, in this case, the Palestinians. I think they want to destroy them in whole, in the way that Hitler wanted to destroy all the Jews. I mean, it just, if you listen to the way that the Israelis talk about the Palestinians, about wanting to eradicate them, about the fact that they view all children, even children in the womb, as enemies. I mean, they have genocidal intent. They want to wipe these folks out. They don't care if anyone takes them, but they have to use that as a fig leaf, right? They can't. The U.S. and Israel have to pretend that they at least want these folks to live, even if it's living somewhere else. But I don't think that's the goal, and I'll tell you why. Because they're not letting people out now. There's no way out. You cannot get out of Gaza. I have friends in Gaza, desperate to get out. They cannot get out. Every crossing is closed. Now, Israel's telling fishermen you can't fish in the Mediterranean or we'll shoot at you. So the Mediterranean is closed. There's no way out. So if they wanted people to leave, they could open those gates now, and a lot of people would find a way out on boats or through the Rafah crossing in Egypt. But they're not letting them out. They're shooting fish in a barrel. That's what they're doing, and that's what they're going to continue to do. So they don't need anyone to take the Palestinians.
Your point of view is that's not what it's about. That's just what they say. In reality, it's about just exterminating the population.
That's what they're trying to do. They're exterminating them, not just in Gaza. They're starting to do that, accelerate that in the West Bank too.
I mean, it does seem like from there, in Israel's mindset, we have a compliant president. We're going to go for it. This is our chance. And we're going to try to take the West Bank. We're going to try to take all of Gaza. We're going to try to take down Iran. Oh my God, Iran can fight back. So let's not go after that right away. Let's go back to attacking Gaza, Lebanon, and other people who can't effectively fight back. I mean, they've really tried to go for it all in one fell swoop. Syria was taken down. Hezbollah was taken down. Hamas.
They want to take Iran out too. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. They just didn't have the capability of doing it. One last thing before I let you go. There is, I don't want to call it a rumor, Yeah, I don't want to call it a rumor. In fact, maybe I'll just play the clip. But this has been making the rounds. Let me see. Effectively making the argument that Russia dropped Syria, that they are effectively women. I was blah, 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 blah. What do you think? How do you
Yeah,
think
no,
Syria?
I know this argument. I was on a webinar yesterday. Some folks like Vanessa Beeley have been making that argument, for
Have
example.
they? She's not the only one that's been making an argument. I'm going to play part of this clip. I think
Yeah.
this argument is bunk, by the way. I just want to be very clear. I think this argument is bunk. But it has been making the rounds. You are a Syrian expert, so I do want to get your take.
And who took advantage of that moment is Al-Shah. We're not in the regime change business. This president is not into nation building, and we had nothing to do with that in Syria. We had nothing to do with the Assad regime. Everybody should point to Putin, who is under pressure, and thank him for whisking Assad away at the moment. And who took advantage of that moment is Al-Shah.
By the way, I do want to point out something. The notion, if you believe that the United States was not involved in trying to take down Assad, I have a bridge to sell you on Uranus. It is absurd. Even the New York Times, which is amazing because the United States never really acknowledges when it's something that everybody knows when the United States is involved in regime change. We had been working going all the way back since the first Bush administration to get rid of Assad because we wanted to use that as a gateway to go after Iran. And we believed we needed to take down Syria first, meaning even before Assad got in office, with his dad being in office, we were working to try to get rid of the Syrian government. Obama spent billions of dollars in order to, timber sycamore, to try to get rid of Assad. And so even Trump was like, we're keeping the oil. Meaning all of these things were directly related to creating the situation where it is capable of getting rid of Assad, meaning after years of attrition. That guy's full of shit. I'm just pointing that out right off the
Well,
bat.
of course, you're right. Operation Timber Sycamore, which, as you said, the New York Times did at least one article I know of, maybe
Yes.
some more. What was the most expensive CIA regime change operation ever? $1 billion a year for several years.
Yep.
So yeah, you're absolutely right.
I'm gonna let him play out. It just annoyed the
Yeah.
hell out of me to hear the guy say this and be like, "Hey, we had nothing to do with this. We had nothing
Right.
to do with this." It's
They
like,
had everything to do with it. Now the
Everything to do with
question is, in the 11th hour, how did it come to be that Assad fell? And that is still, I think, unknown for sure. There we have various reports, one from his own son, who gave some account of it,
Yeah.
essentially saying that there was treachery within the ranks, high ranks of the military. Some of the military leadership was bought off, it appears, by Qatar, and this is corroborated by Chinese intelligence, that the sanctions were so intense on Syria, that by the end, the Syrian military personnel were getting like 40, $50 a month. Okay. They could barely survive. So it was very easy then for Qatar, for example, to bribe people to order the military to stand down. So there seems to be some evidence that happened. At some point, I also heard from a diplomat that Turkey had told Russia and Iran, I think, at a meeting that before the Assad fell, that they had everything worked out. That again, they had traitors in the military, and he was going to fall. So I believe there's probably a lot of truth to that.
And by the way, there was a famous meeting with Lavrov, in a conversation with Erdogan, because I've heard this before, where Erdogan is a snake. I'm sorry, he is a snake, man.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, Erdogan didn't necessarily like the way that the Russians effectively, let's say, read him the riot act the first time around, and this was kind of the turn of the worm. And Lavrov comes out of that meeting pissed. You can see it on him. Usually Lavrov is this consummate diplomat. He is a diplomat's diplomat. When he came out of the meeting, he didn't look like a diplomat. He looked like a pissed off man. And it seems that if that's when the communication took place, that's when it took place, effectively telling him this is all sewn up, this is what's going to happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And somehow they got turned into the Russians stabbed Assad in the back, which, again, I don't know where they get that from.
Yeah, well, I mean, what Russia says and what Iran says is, look, we were willing to fight to protect Assad, but the Syrian army had to be willing to do it too. We weren't going to do it for them. We would do it alongside them. It's clear that the rank and file of the military was willing to fight of Syria. But again, that there were these traitors in the leadership that told them to stand down, and confusion happened, and that's how Al-Golani came to power. Some folks say, well, but I mean, some people believe the Russians were maybe too quick to stand down themselves when this happened, that they didn't do enough, essentially, to defend Assad in the 11th hour. Again, the Russians say, well, but that's not our job. That was essentially the Syrian army's job first. And if they weren't willing to do it, again, we weren't going to do it for them, especially because they're bogged down in Ukraine. In any case, I don't think that Russia wanted Assad to fall. I don't think they betrayed him. In fact, at the last moment, they brought he and his family to Russia. I mean, but again, I think in terms of all the details of all that, I think it remains to be seen. I'd like to say in the fullness of time, we'll find out, but we're still waiting to find out who killed Kennedy. So, will we ever know? I don't know. But
one last question before I let you go. Do you have an expectation that Netanyahu is going to once again go after Iran?
Oh, yeah, there's no question. There's no question.
Time.
This war is not over. And sadly, we are in the middle. And again, I wish I could tell you who this Russian expert is because he was so good. I could figure it out. I'll send it to you, and you
Please.
can mention it on air. But he was saying we are in the midst of World War III. It has begun. He believes that it will intensify and that it will look like it did in the 1940s with World War II. I mean, that we're on the verge of that. But Iran's going to be in the crosshairs of that. I mean, this war is going to continue in the Middle East. It's going to continue in Ukraine. And again, according to this expert and others, it will expand into the Pacific against China. So that's because that's what the West wants. That's what the U.S. wants. That's what Europe wants. And so that's what's going to happen.
This is not the Second World War, though. This is a different world.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. And it's a more deadly one. It could potentially because of nuclear weapons.
And the West doesn't have the distribution of force to win it in the way that it did. Meaning, for one, the West is not the good guys in this. There's that. Two, we are talking about China by itself with an industrial might that is never before seen on this planet. Like the number of tanks and boats. And like if we look at what the United States was able to do in the Second World War, people marvel at that industrial capacity. Okay, we don't have that.
We don't have it.
China does in like 3 times over. And they can produce these boats and ships and things, etc., at a rate that is just ungodly. Like it is astonishing, their industrial capacity. Add to boot 1.5 or 1.3 billion people. Okay, what does it look like if you marshal even a portion of that for war fighting? Okay, that's terrifying. And so the U.S. is not going to win that war. This is KJ No always used the bear fighting fallacy. I think it's like 3% of the public think they could fight a bear and win. It's that where you get the U.S. who continuously loses war games against China, wanting to fight China, and it's like, okay, this is outrageous. You're just talking about a nuclear war. There's no way to win that.
Yeah, well, that is the fear that they're willing to use nuclear weapons. Of course, there's cyber attacks, which is, a new thing, trying to knock out other countries' telecommunications, electric grids, defenses. I mean, I agree with you that in a conventional war, the U.S. could not win that, but this won't be a conventional war. I'm not even sure.
No, I'm sorry, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what exactly it will look like, but I think war will come. Whether the U.S. can win it or can't win it, it will come.
Buckle up.
Buckle up.
On the positive side, in Star Trek, that's how they got the New World.
Yeah, well, although I fear that there won't be much of a world left, honestly. I mean, again, I don't mean to be pessimistic, but I mean, we're facing something very, very terrible, I think.
I know, but I guess I agree with you. But I guess from my point of view, that door is always going to be walked through. There was no way around that door. Like, we have decided to create a world based on capitalistic interests, where what the human being needs for survival, for growth, best interests, peace, those type of things matter less than control. And at some point, that had to give way. And the catch becomes, okay, is that going to give way in a peaceful way? Or is that going to give way with blood and people holding onto a gun? It seems like it's going to give way with people holding onto a gun.
Well, it does. Although, the hope was socialism at one point, that would defeat capitalism. Obviously the hope for that dimmed quite a bit after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and I have not given up on that hope. Let me just be clear, but it looks a long way off at the moment. I will say that,
But see, I would argue China is that country. I mean, China is a different animal than Soviet Union, but it's a better animal. And let me put that in context. It's not that China is a perfect government, but it seems that they have this. And I know some people would say, okay, that's just what they say. That's not, you can't necessarily trust what countries say. Fair enough. But I think even Mearsheimer wouldn't agree with this. I think China and the Soviet Union are different animals in regards to what they believe in and what they would want to accomplish. Whereas the Soviet Union might have been more like America in regards to the way they would, let's say, deal with the world at large. I think China is not an interventionist country by definition. I just don't think that's their mantle. I don't think that's what they want. I know Mearsheimer thinks they are. Mearsheimer thinks all countries are effectively the same. I don't think all countries are the same. I think all Western countries might be similar. But I think China seems to have a different modus operandi in regards to the way that it operates. And it seems, how do we bring people out of poverty? How do we raise the living standard? How do we increase health? How do we increase, et cetera? Even though they may be a bit heavy-handed in some of the ways they go about doing it, all things being equal, that seems to be a direction where they seem to be more towards peace and coexistence, as opposed to this notion of brute force, bringing, we need you to do this. We need to force you to do this. We need to invade your country. We need to overthrow your governments. It's a different model. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But that's why the West wants to destroy it. Or at least that's one reason. But the other thing is that, the only way capitalism will be destroyed is if there's socialist revolutions within the West. I mean, that is what has to happen. It's not going to come from at the outside, from China or whatever. But I agree with you. And again, I think China's model is very threatening to the West because it's proving how ineffectual Western capitalism is to meet human needs. I mean, and that's why China needs to be taken down from the Western point of view.
Dan, always appreciate you, man. By the
too.
way, I have an audience member who always asks a Star Trek question. He'd be like, "What's your favorite Star Trek character? What's your favorite Doctor? What's your favorite this? What's your favorite bad guy? What's your favorite villain?" I'm going to ask you the last thing. He was like, "What's your favorite Doctor on all of Star Trek?"
I mean, I'm old school, you know, so
McCoy.
I like Bones, you know, and my favorite character is Leonard Nimoy's Spock. I mean, I just love Mr. Spock. So that's what I grew up on. So there you go.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I answered the Doctor on Voyager. And no,
okay.
that's a screwball answer.
No,
I
not
think
at all.
the reason is because and maybe the way he asked the question was, what is the most important or something like that. These guys were in the middle of nowhere. They didn't have, the other doctor died. And the doctor had to effectively develop and grow. And it is a interesting philosophical question of whether you let the doctor develop, how far you let the doctor develop. Was Janeway wrong in letting the doctor develop? Because, I mean, after all, he was out there having sex. He was doing songs and concerts. Like, all this other stuff is like, okay, dude, what are you doing right now? Like, is that really what you allow your doctor to do? I don't know. Dan, thank you for this, man. I really do appreciate it. You be safe.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I
And
wish you
just
the best.
Oh, I wish
Long
you the best
live and
too.
prosper.
Dan Kovalik, he's an American human rights, labor rights lawyer, political activist. He previously taught at the International Human Rights at the University of Pittsburgh. Be safe and have a good day, okay?
You too. Thank you. Take care.
Bye. All right. We have come to the end. I thought I'd bring Dan Kovalik into the Star Trek thing. I know he's a Star Trek fan. So I thought I'd hit him with one of the questions that my audience tends to ask